The story it's about Native American kids that disappeared while attending a boarding school over 50 years ago, and that's just basically the premise of it. What inspired me was articles that I read, and after I did some research on some events that happened up in Canada, where over 50,000 Indian kids just disappeared. There was no explanation really given to the families other than maybe they ran away, or there was never a closure for these families until a few years ago. It all started coming out when bodies were discovered at these boarding schools, and so it was just unbelievable how not too many people know about this. I didn't even know about it, and just being a storyteller myself, I said the best way to probably get this out there is to make a movie. So it's based on those events, but the story itself is a fictional.
I played James Francis, and he is one of the kids that was at the boarding school, and his sister Mary Francis is one he witnessed. She got murdered there, and his kind of part in the story is he comes in and you kind of don't know, if he's a bad guy or what. He's just this old scary Indian guy, and so she sees him in town, and she ends up getting to speak with him, and he's there, finds out he's there to warn her of these bad people, this bad place, and it's a really good, it's a really great part. When I first read the script, Mark sent it to me and asked me if I'd be interested. I was totally in after reading that part. That was just a really great story.
I play a mom in the movie, and my husband and I end up in a divorce, and then he ends up killed in a car accident. My daughter was already having a hard time against me and starting to rebel, and she just rebelled even worse. As a mother, I didn't know what else to do, so I chose to relocate from where she was. She had to start all over with friends. I had found this school that was very inviting and welcoming, just like you would want if you were moving, to get a new start. And as the movie progresses, I am turning more and more and involving myself more into the school and becoming more of their culture than actually of my culture, and I'm kind of losing myself into them, which is all part of their plan and their scheme. And my daughter, she sees the kids are trying to warn her and tell her, and she sees the outside and the big picture, and she tries to warn me and tries to tell me. I just thought she was doing it to rebel. Well, come to find out, she knew what was happening and was trying to save us, is what she was doing.
My character is Madison Gray. I'm supposed to be 14 years old, correct? 14.
Teenager.
Yep. And I have to move from my old town because I was having trouble with my grades, and my dad died, and so my mom was trying to give me a new start. So we moved to this new town, and I'm not very happy about it because I have to move away from my best friend and all my old friends, and in real life I've had to do that so much. And well, when I get there, just all these really unfortunate and mysterious events start going on. Like, I start seeing ghosts and seeing things that normally a person wouldn't see, and instead of being I was kind of afraid, but instead of being completely frightened, I'm just kind of curious about it to kind of figure out what's going on. And kind of throughout the movie, you just see conflict between me and my mom because we're not that close because of, the past experiences, and I kind of blame my mom for my dad's death and divorce and all that stuff. And then not only that, the principal that's there, he's not very nice, of course, as, they watch the movie. they'd find out in the end that he was the one that killed all the kids and all the teachers were involved. And I notice, kind of get this sense about him that he's, there's something not right. And I meet this boy named Roy, and he kind of tells me a little bit about one of his friends that was one of the victims. And he kind of warned me about what was going on and that I wasn't safe and my mom and I weren't safe. And I got in a little bit of trouble because of, I had to sneak out to go talk to him, and I got caught. And my mom wasn't very happy about that, so that made our relationship 10 times worse. And kind of towards the end, I meet this Indian, and really he's actually a ghost as well, and I didn't find that out until the very end. And he also warns me about the kids, and he wants me to help him put his sister's spirit to rest because she was also one of the boarding school victims. And I forgot to mention, this whole film is about the boarding school kids from the Indian times. They're to kind of talk about their story and to put it out there and let them know that, the boarding schools were not great. They treated the kids terribly. You can kind of relate it to Nazis and the Holocaust. I would go that far with it because it really is. The kids' stories are inspirational, and I'm glad Mark did this film. But anyways, I find certain things like Elliot's diary that tell me about the kids, and that they're not there to hurt me, they're there to try and help me. And in the end, I have a scene with Principal Wallace, and we get in a fight, and eventually everything comes out and he gets arrested, and all of the kids' spirits are finally freed, and my mom and our relationship gets a lot better, and everything just gets better in the end. So
I played the mean and evil Harvey Wallace. Harvey Wallace was a principal for this Indian boarding school, and he'd been around a long time, and a mean character, mean to the Native American children that were there, and his little secret of the town, he wanted to keep it that way, and he influenced the rest of the teachers there that keep this little secret in this little town. So Harvey Wallace was a bad guy.
In the movie, I played Mary Frances, and she goes to a boarding school with her brother, and while she's there, she gets killed, and she becomes a ghost, and that's mainly what you see in the movie.
I play Mrs. Turner, and she is a school teacher, and she is kind of a Jekyll Hyde type character, which she brings each part of herself out when she feels it's appropriate. She can be nice and sweet, or she can be very evil. So it was a lot of fun to play a two-sided character like that.
Both my parents went to boarding schools. I really didn't know a whole lot about it. I guess they don't. A lot of the elders really don't talk a whole lot about that stuff anymore. Still, and some of the lines in the film kind of portray that too. He's still, like the part I played, James Francis. He's still afraid of getting hurt. By speaking about it or going back there. And I think, maybe that's the way it is, because even my parents don't talk that much about the boarding schools they went to. But every once in a while you'll hear little stories and stuff. That's why I was really glad that, Mark did this film.
It affects me because, I didn't realize that back then Native Americans were beaten like that. But beyond trying to change other people and their outlook of Native Americans, not like that when I say I'm Indian, they think I'm from India, but I tell them it's different.
During this process, he had cast the lead character, and she was he was trying to hide us pretty much. He wouldn't let me see her on. He let me see her on Facebook, but he wouldn't let her see me because he wanted that first initial scene just to be, really show, and it did. We had to sneak up and sneak up right behind her in that scene. So when she turned around on camera live, it was the first time seeing me in makeup and everything. And it was really great.
I was just like so into the moment. Like, I mean, when he came up behind me and he, like, I don't know, he ran up and stopped, that just, like, my whole mind was just, oh my God, I really don't want to turn around. I really don't want to turn, you know what I mean? And when I finally did and the scene was over, I was relieved because I looked at Mark's face and he was very satisfied with it. And so I thought that was awesome. And then James Francis, which is actually Jeff, he gave me a big hug afterwards and he was like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, dude, so glad that scene was over. But it was awesome.
Yes, and to switch back and forth, it was fun. I'd never ever done anything like that before, and I truly enjoyed it. It was fun, very unique.
Interesting script because originally I'm from Texas, and as far as knowing that much about the Native American culture, I didn't know that much. Certainly didn't know that there were boarding schools. Had no idea whatsoever. So when Mark approached me with the subject matter, he sat down there and he explained every little bit of it, you know, how he had researched this from I believe it was Canada. Maybe a movie was even shot in Canada about the boarding schools. And he just wanted to bring it to life down here and make a movie about the boarding schools. And so it was interesting, very interesting.
I really think that the script, because it had true facts in it and it was about the boarding school, you know, we all heard about boarding schools or have family members or people who have gone to the boarding schools, but you don't really hear a lot of the bad stuff that has happened in the boarding schools. So I think just knowing the history behind and learning that, I think, to me, probably made the script better. And I went home, actually, he had given me some other pieces of information about the boarding schools, and I actually went home and did a lot of research on the boarding schools. And now that, you know, we've made this movie, it's, I think, made a lot more people aware. And I think that that's one thing, just being true facts of this movie, that makes it so good.
I was a little bit stunned because it was something that I had not heard of. Mark had given me some background on it, and I actually went online and looked it up, and it was just amazing to know the background behind this, something that you didn't know anything about. I knew nothing about it. No one that I know knows anything about it, because everyone that I spoke to about it was also just stunned. So I thought, wow, this is really cool. It's a really unique opportunity to be a part of something like this, and Mark was so immersed in it, and he, you know, is dear to his heart, and I wanted to be a part of it too, because of that.
The biggest challenge I had was with the Native American ghosts, especially the young ones. I mean, they were really afraid of me. I mean, I was the bad guy from the start, and they, you know, you said it's hard to be mean to a little 5-year-old girl. It was tough, but I mean, they came through, and really, I think Mark got some really good shots that he was looking for, and sometimes we had to push it just a little bit to get the looks he wanted. But that was the hardest thing for me. It wasn't beating up Rebecca. We can do that again anytime. But with the young little actors, it was a little bit tough.
My phone rang. It was Mark saying, "Hey, I've written you a fight scene," and I'm like, "Cool," because I thought it would be really, really neat. And he was right. People would want to see something bad happen to Mrs. Turner, you know, because she's predominantly evil, actually, and I had no qualms of it. I knew it wasn't going to be anything where I could get seriously hurt, or hoping that I couldn't get sick, but I'm pretty much up for anything, you know. And Latasha, she's really great, and we had a good chemistry, and we both totally enjoyed it. And I might have had a bruised kneecap or something. That was about it.
Just because you don't realize how physical, I mean, it looks so easy on camera, but all the physical takes, take after take, that you know, and the hits that you're taking to make it look real. You end up with all kinds of bumps and bruises, and you didn't even know you were hit there.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. it was snowing and I had that thin shirt on, but I don't know. It kind of toughened me up. It put me in the ghost mood.
How cold was it there?
Very cold. Mark always plans things all the time that are on cold days.
On cold days.
He brings me these clothes, and here you're thinking, you know, a mom dressing like a teacher, and so he's like, well, I'll go down to the thrift store and I'll find you some clothes. Yeah, well, he found me some old clothes. Of course, they were too big. So we hemmed them up and like safety pins, and I think at one point we were taking a staple gun and right before the shoot to hem them up. So yeah, we had some very classy looking, and the hairdo, the bun, rock the bun.
My approach was I really wanted to capture what the survivors, if you will, from these boarding schools, what they went through and what they had to carry the rest of their lives. And so I talked with and I interviewed a couple of people who actually went to some of these boarding schools, and they agreed to speak to me on the base that I wouldn't use them in the movie. I wouldn't even mention their name. And so one of the scenes actually came from a real story. And so I really wanted to show how those events really scarred them, and it really changed how they looked at their own heritage. They was afraid to even speak of what happened to them. And not only just not be ashamed of their heritage, they couldn't even speak their own language. They was afraid to speak their own language. And in some situations, some families, they would get after their grandkids if they heard them speaking it, because they was just, you know, almost brainwashing to them. You should not speak your language. The power of Facebook. it just kind of snowballed. The very first person that I got was Jeff Anderson, who played James Francis, and I never met him before, but we were somehow friends on Facebook, and I knew he was an actor, and I would see some of the pictures that he posted, and he just had the best look for James Francis. And even before I even finished the script, I sent him a kind of a rough draft of it, and then we met, and he was on board from the very beginning. So I kind of wrote the character toward him, and then as the script got finished, he knew some people in the business, and they would suggest somebody. And I never did have one big audition. I just met everybody on one-on-one basis, and it was either through referrals or I would go through these websites with talent agencies and just take a chance. I would just start sending scripts out, and even though a lot of them wanted to be paid, they turned it down because of that, because it was a low budget film. But some of the ones who actually read it, they were touched by the story. They wanted to be involved with it, so they agreed to meet. Once they saw what more about, like those articles that I was telling you about, they just wanted to be a part of telling that story. And so it just kind of snowballed. Before you know it, they would say, I worked with somebody on this movie, you should check him out, talk to him, he would be great for this role. And a lot of times it really was. Seeing a scene that you created in your head, you know, and you wrote down months and months ago that you thought would sound good, seeing these talented actors act it out in front of you. You've seen the scene, the characters, the story come to life right in front of you. it's just it's a great feeling, um, and then especially the emotional scenes where months before you think this is really going to get the audience, and when you see the actors perform the way you want them to, and they deliver the lines the way you want them to, it's just a great feeling. Working with the cast on this movie was a great experience. I'd never had more fun making a movie, you know. They each brought something different to the table, and I learned a great deal too, because you approach every actor kind of differently, and some may need more rehearsals than others. Some may need throw ideas at them. Some they get the character and you just say, "What if you do this?" and they just go with it. And so they were a joy to work with, and they made my job a lot easier. There wasn't a lot. I mean, some maybe had more. They needed a little bit more direction than others, but you kind of, as you're getting to know them, you're seeing their performance and you see what they can do. You just some you just kind of let them go, you know. When some of them just kind of ad lib and they come up with some better stuff than you even wrote. And so all that was just also a learning experience for me. And honestly, probably almost all of them have been in bigger movies, bigger productions. They were used to a bigger spotlight, but they were willing to come out and do this short story, not only based on the script, but based on the message of it too. And so there was no egos, even though some probably could because of some of their past work. There was just everybody just got along. There was a lot of laughter. Everybody had a great time. It was a blast.